Hi, everybody. This is Joel Simmons for another EarthWorks Turf Talk. I've been sitting in my office for the last number of hours doing soil audits for clients from all across the country. And as I'm looking at these soil tests and the water-soluble paste tracks, I realize how important it has been for so many of our clients to do what we call the water-soluble paste extract monitoring program. Now, what a water-soluble paste extract is, for those of you who don't know, it is a soil test. We take a soil test and we run it through the lab, but instead of using a strong acid and extracting off all the nutrients as we do on a standard soil test, we're simply washing it over with deionized water or sometimes irrigation water. And what potentially or theoretically this is doing for us is showing us of what is on the soil colloid, how much of this nutrient is mobilizing. And it does, in fact, at least certainly in my mind, over the years I've been doing this, gives me some indications as to biological activity, because as biological activity increases, so does nutrient mobility. But what the water-soluble paste extract monitoring program does for us, it is allows us to watch the changes that are occurring either up or down month to month on a particular site. So what we typically do here is we take one or two greens on the golf course or one or two fields on an athletic complex and monitor the nutrient mobility on those particular sites. So let's say on the golf course, we take green 5 and green 15. Every single month, the first of the month, the superintendent has his assistant go out, pull those two samples, sends it off to Logan Labs for us, and then we look at it. And as you can see here on this particular test, what we can do is we can run 5 samples side by side on a particular site. So this happens to be one green that we've run 5 months in a row. Take a look at this sample. As you look across this, so the oldest one is on the right, the newest one is on the left, and what we're looking for are changes, up or down, left or right, good or bad. Typically, what we really want to focus on are things like bicarbonates and sodium-potassium ratios. But take a look at the most recent soil test and look at the potassium level on that. It really spiked. So when I had a chance to sit down and talk with the superintendent and review this test, my first question, of course, is what changed? What happened and why is the potassium so high? And what we found out was that this particular superintendent put down a slow release prilled potassium source. Now, when we pull a soil sample and even one prill of a nutrient, especially a slow release nutrient, is drawn into that sample, the laboratory will extract it and that particular element will show very high as it did here. So we were able to identify the fact that recently they had put down as their fall application an application of slow release potassium. And what was interesting was I had been doing the same monitoring program for superintendents in the area, and they were all using the same slow release potassium product as a fall application. And we were able to quickly identify, where this was coming from and what the situation was. But that's the point of what this is all about. What we're really looking for, especially as we go into the summer months, late spring, we're looking for it increases on things like bicarbonates. Because if the bicarbonate starts to creep up as we move into the summer and irrigation water usage starts to go even higher, that bicarbonate load will get stronger and stronger. And as we know, bicarbonates can seal the soil surface, restrict air and water movement. So it allows us to stay ahead of that curve. And a suggestion might be to go in and scarify the surface, maybe with a Sand Pro, scarifying equipment or a needle tine or something that can just crack that surface. We also look very closely at the relationship between sodium and potassium. And if sodium is starting to creep up and potassium isn't keeping it at bay, we're going to run into situations as we get into the heat of the summer and irrigation water increases with sodium-induced wilt stress. And we can identify that and understand when we hit that threshold to the point at which we need to start flushing, or perhaps even the point at which we increase the frequency of flushing so we can keep sodium out of the root zone, away from the roots, and not letting it flush into the turf. So in the heat of that that summer, we're not dealing with that sodium-induced wilt stress. The sodium monitoring, the paste extract monitoring program has really been very, very effective for so many of our clients for so many years now. And it's just a peace of mind. It's a little piece of insurance that allows us to make sure that we're monitoring and seeing changes and making sure that something is not out of whack. So if you haven't worked with us or anybody for that matter on monitoring some of your sites using these water soluble tests, it's a good idea to keep that in loop just so you can get an idea as to kind of changes that are happening. And again, it's very simple. It's one or two samples a month, and then we build a stream of income. And as you can see again on our tests, we can put five different months on the same page, so we can really get a quick look at what the changes are on any particular line item on any one of these soil tests. So a water soluble paste extract monitoring program may be something you want to look at in your program for next season. Thank you so much.